Once again, I want to thank all of our musicians and volunteers. And they give up days and hours in their lives to make worship possible and meaningful and blessed. So thank you for that. The psalmist knew what Igor Stravinsky was talking about in the quote in your bulletin, where he said that music is somehow the gathering together of all life. Music, as far as we know, has been a part of human history all the way through from the very, very beginning. The gardens of Eden and the caves of Lascaux all depict human beings together in song and in dance. There's some interesting things about music and the way we work together. The Greeks, of course, believed that music was a vital element to healing. It wasn't chemical that you needed. It was music. It was harmony. And if you were ill, it was perhaps because your vibrations weren't quite in sync with that of those who gave love. All the way through in various cultures, Peruvian cultures, had this interesting conversation this week. Peruvian shamanistic cultures, they take hallucinogenic drugs, and Western folks have long been fascinated with the weird out-of-body experiences that happen. But the shamans themselves will tell you that the hallucinogenic drug is merely to open you up, to pierce the veil of your human existence so that you can allow the divine creation and the music it makes to pour in and again lift away impurities and shake you down to your roots. Music is the perfect metaphor for the way that communities ought to work. No single instrument carries the tune alone, but working in concert, literally, with each other, find ways to bring out nuances of both rhythm and of grace. In our recent learnings about music and music therapy, one of the things that we know is that music alone can lower blood pressure as well as many of our therapeutic drugs. When one is having difficulty breathing, human bodies will naturally attune to the pace of whatever auditory sounds are in the room. So if it's music, breathing will tend to gravitate towards the pace and rhythm of the music it is bathed in. This is a very helpful thing if you are anxious, stressed, or worried, and it's an important prayer technique, friends and neighbors. It's a reminder that music seeps below the door of our heart. It sneaks under the door of our conscious guard, and it can lift us. It can literally float our spirits up. It's also the reason, though, why music can sometimes pierce our hearts. When we can be driving in a car and hear the song of our long-lost youth and find ourselves tearing up at all the memories of times and thoughts that we have associated with that music. I joked with the choir at their party that on their deathbed, nobody ever said, "Oh, Pastor Kent, please preach to me that sermon you did on May 29th, 2016. But so many will instantly be able to sing. They'll instantly be able to connect with a tune from Sunday school, a song from their radio youth, lyrics that never left. So when parts of our brain can't remember where we put the car keys or who the people were with, who they are, we can still call to mind the music that lives in the very center of our souls. So both symbolically and in actual fact, music remains a very important part of my spirituality, and I hope yours. It is perfectly possible to have excellent worship without music. It is possible to have beautiful, beautiful Quaker-style meetings where the silence gathers in its own kind of symphony. But the music, the harmonies, while not represented in the accident of a song or an orchestral piece or an organ, the harmony that underlies that silence is as critical and as real as anything tangible. It isn't that the choir sings in pitch, which they do. It's that the choir is a choir, that they have dedicated an hour, 2, 10, to learning a piece. It isn't that just that the bells are stunning and their clarity rings through us. It's that they have offered to us who hear the intention to work together. They have shown not only a result, but they have shown a process. Nobody plays more than 3 or 4 bells at a time, and there are thousands of notes in a piece. It takes all of us. It takes a convergence of both intention and result. It takes a coming together of both ability and desires. When we're at our best, whether it be at church, in a family, at school, when we're at our best, we are working in concert. We are taking the gifts others have taught us. We are offering the gifts we have mutated or invented ourselves. We are offering them in connection and next to and with others. And we are producing something that no single person, no single intent, no single skill could have created. Several weeks ago, I preached about the improbable miracle of the church being like the bumblebee, difficult to detect how it is that it flies. This is one of the ways. It is the convergence of so much goodwill combined with the best of our hearts and minds in praxis. Intent alone is, as you know, paving the road to a place we don't want to go. Praxis without heart, however, is sterile and leaves us dry. But the coming together to make music, the coming together to make church, the coming together to make joy, laughter, love, all of these things is about the interaction that we have with one another, the ability to give and take, respond, and add in, like jazz, a spontaneous component to our loving and our living. Honor and majesty are before God, says the psalm. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Well, where do you think that comes from? All that strength and beauty lies within us and within our youngest members as well. They grow from squiggles and screams to alleluias and amens. And we should too. Keeping it confined to this room is lovely and it resounds, but it isn't enough. If we work with one another here, lovely, but it ought to impel us to work with others outside, to find ways to make our own harmonies, to bring together some convergence of our best desires, our best skills, our best hopes with God's people. It is not easy to do. I have been in despair over the news. I have seen only disasters and stupid responses to disasters, and then hateful and mean speech coming from all sides of every political aisle, and not just in our country. It seems to be a trend, perhaps as native as making joyful sounds. Perhaps we too, as human beings, have some darker part of us intent on drowning out the gifts of others. It's to be resisted. It should be shunned. Just as there are wrong and sour notes, we need to find ways to eradicate sour speech. It is hard, and I'm not good at it, but I believe that the convergence of God's best intent for us and a loving world requires that we step beyond what it is we wish we could do to other people and start finding the common good again. It is the commonwealth of harmony. Not that we all get along or do the same thing, rather that we have the idea that by working together we are better, that by including others we are a more complete symphony, that by seeking good for all, we might relinquish some of our own greed for self. All of these things are the ways that we play the instruments of grace. All of these ways are the ways that we strike notes of a greater and better world. It isn't easy. It's not simple. It's also not popular. It's why I rely on you, and why the world relies on those who, in the face of mean-spiritedness, stand against the crowd and march to a different drummer, who march to the drum beats of the feet of peace. John McCutcheon reminded us all on Friday night of a song that he learned from a union organizer called Step by Step. You know, it says, a single foot can't break a bridge. Singly none. But together, the march to freedom can be won. There is power. There is power even in our disunity as long as we're pointed in the same direction. It ought to be that we need never fight about whether it's good or bad to feed children in need. We ought never be in discord about whether education is of value. We ought never worry that any politician of any stripe would ever choose to deny health and well-being to any person. This is nonsense. It is crazy. I can't fathom it, and it breaks my heart. There used to be, I think, back in the days when we knew that we needed each other for survival, when we were relieved by our own paucity of resources, of the illusion of self-reliance. We knew we needed our neighbor to be educated, well-fed, and well, because we knew that it was on their back that we would depend one day, just as they depended on us. So to our young people who are graduating, well done. And thank you. And please, use your gifts. Don't let anybody rob you of them. Don't let anybody tell you, though, that they are just for you and that you have made your own accomplishments. You have. You've been a part of it. But you stand on the shoulders of generations who went before you, who made it possible for you to have a school to graduate from, who thought about what children needed and gave their very lives and livelihoods to making the next generation thrive as you have thrived. As you have made us proud, may you one day make others proud to have been part of your world. So whether it be by healing therapy or by entertainment and delight, whether it be by business and all the enterprises that you set your minds and hearts to, let them always be in concert and aware of the other instruments playing around you. Take your solo piece, absolutely. But then delight in the magic of the music you make with others. Delight in the way that you contribute to the well-being of those around you. The hippy-dippy harmonic convergence movement of my late 90s friends was all about how we're totally going to be in this new age of Aquarius, and we're going to come together and there'll be peace, it'll be awesome. And I hope it will be. We should all dedicate ourselves to such concerns. We should all take a moment and let go of all that pride and all the prejudices and all the worries we have about how somebody else has taken what's mine, and find some way to ascribe to the Lord glory and strength and to offer ours as well. The world may be firmly established, but music will move it. The music of righteous hearts and loving souls. Amen.